seeing something.
We are live. G'day everybody, how you going today? It is so good to see you. I do hope that you are super well. I'm here at the gorgeous Albert Park Lake with Joe, my trusty sidekick, and we are very excited. It's about 13 hours since the Z6III launched globally. I spent a week or two with the camera, and I would love to answer as many questions as I can. That's why we're here today. Joe's also got a list of 30 plus questions that he wants to know. Does he need to get one, being a Z9 man and a Z6 man?
Well, and ZF's in the armory as well.
Oh, the ZF.
Yeah, we've got a few of them floating through the house. I would say, my first comment about this camera is, yeah, I'm pretty keen to get my hands on one.
There we go.
So
get your orders in early is what I've heard.
Yeah, so I may end up with one.
Yeah,
and we'll go into that a bit later and the reasons why. So
everybody, if you could let us know if the sound and the picture is okay for you, just for everybody's interest. We are really here beside the lake for real. I like to do these outside broadcasts. They're quite difficult. We can't control the light, we can't control the wind, and we can't control the ducks that just did a low flying pass. But let us know the sound is okay and that the picture is okay. We are shooting on the Z9 and we're tethering it just straight to the laptop here that you can see. It's all a lot of fun. Hold it.
Great. We've got some people saying it sounds pretty good.
Pretty good. We love that. And can I tell you, we're coming all the way from Australia. So if you're in the Northern Hemisphere anywhere, we are literally being beamed 12,000 kilometers. It's a long way.
They may have to turn the monitor upside down.
Oh yeah, we are down under. 12,000, 15,000, 16,000 kilometers. It's a lot. G'day Ray, good to see you there. Jay Blue.
G'day Wayne as well.
Roger Manning, William Andrews. Great to see you all. Craig, Benjamin, Deborah, fantastic to have you in from Atlanta, Georgia. Good to see you all. So of course, we're here.
Wayne's 500 meters away.
Oh, is he? Where are you, Wayne?
He's swimming in the lake.
Okay. Come and sit with us. Pull up a chair, and or you can have my chair. I don't mind standing. What was I going to say? I've completely lost my train of thought. If you have any questions, please queue them. And whilst we wait for a few of those to appear, Joe, what's your number one question about the very exciting Z6III?
Well, the first thing that I wanted to know was what was the experience like for shooting sport, because a lot of what I've been using the Z9 for was I'd be out at inside stadiums shooting 4,000-5,000 shots a day. And I wanted to know what your feeling is about this particular body in that type of environment. Inside a stadium, darkish?
Yeah, well, for low light, absolutely spectacular. I mean, I watched Steve Perry's video, and of course, he's more an action and sports and wildlife, fast action dude than me. And he has shared a lot of really interesting information. And probably my favorite comment of Steve's was that, of course, yes, it's only 24 megapixels, but you trade that 24 megapixels for much better high ISO performance. As is part of the spec, this camera is about a stop better than the Z6II, which is a phenomenal achievement. Somebody asked me about my comment in my video. What did I mean that 6400 is now 3200? I meant from a noise perspective. That's how much they've improved it, and that's anywhere on the spectrum. 32, it looks like 1600. Sorry, the other way. Yes, no, that's correct. 3200 looks like 1600 now versus say a Z6II. So for low light, and also the other thing that Steve said, and again, we're big fans of Steve, you and I.
Yeah, he's
and
great.
We know he does great thorough testing across all brands. And he said so far in his early testing, he even shooting with the electronic shutter at 20 frames raw, he didn't see any banding of any type. Sorry, not banding, rolling shutter. So it would seem for sports and low light, fabulous is the answer to your question.
So further to that, I guess what was important to me in that particular context is file size, because I'm getting 30 megapixel files, 30 meg files when I'm shooting the Z9 in high efficiency raw, or high efficiency star, sorry. What was the file size you were getting in RAW? Can you recall?
It's funny you should say that, because up until the very last second, I didn't have a RAW converter, so I didn't even look at
okay.
raw files, and it was only literally in the last day that it was like, oh, Lightroom is handling these, and it, you know, not officially, I suppose, but you know, because this it wasn't released yet. But and I didn't look at the file sizes, but one thing I didn't mention in my video, my launch video, please check it out if you haven't seen it, because there are so many things to talk about with this camera, is that of course Xpeed 7 brings HE star and HE. So look, I think the file sizes are no different to what a Z6 is. They're still 24 megapixels. And then of course, which I think is what, something like 30 if you use the largest, most uncompressed, somewhere around there. Let us know in the comments if you know off the top of your head. And of course, HE star makes them about 40% smaller. So they're going to be something like 15, 16 megabytes, which
that's fantastic.
Is amazing.
When I'm handling a lot of data after those shoots, it really, it's going to save me money when I start doing that work again. In real terms, and the 6K versus 8K, it's genuine. You know, when you're like, I'm just to let everybody know, I fill up 4 terabytes every month and a half to 2 months making the videos for YouTube. 4 terabytes, and that's because I shoot everything in 8K. A lot of it will now be in 6K, just to drop that number. Even if I can drop it by a third, that would make a huge difference. We have a question here. I think it was from Roy, which was, what is... G'day, Mozman. So good to see you, buddy. We've got to catch up. Hey, Seth. Good to have you in the house, buddy. Yeah, Roy asked, I'm still trying to work out what a partially stacked sensor is all about. It's a great question, and what it means is, I think, and please someone correct me if I'm wrong, a Z6II, which no, that's a Z8. A Z6II, which is, where's the Z6II? There it is. A Z6II has a certain amount of RAM on the back of the sensor that is pulling the information off the sensor at a certain amount of speed. A semi-stacked sensor has somewhere between a Z8 and a Z6II RAM on the back. So it's got more RAM than a Z6II, but it's got less RAM directly attached. There's there, well, you should do some birding. We're literally being buzzed by, what was that? You're the bird expert. That was a rainbow lorikeet.
There you go. They got very close. So basically it's about RAM close to the photo sites, and there's just more RAM close to the photo sites than a Z6II, but less RAM than a Z8. So it's just how much immediate RAM is there. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if I need to make that clearer.
Seth has actually asked a very interesting question.
Go, Seth, go.
He said, question, Matt, how come this camera doesn't cure cancer? Is that a total fail? Seth, I wish it did, just to let you know. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, then Joe would buy probably 1,000 of them.
That's exactly right.
Yes. Well, you know, I think some people out there who are negative individuals, and unless Nikon do get to that sort of level, Nikon have failed. But I'm sure they're working on it. And of course, we know they're deep into the medical side of things. So you never know what they might pop out of Tokyo there.
So Mark Moll says, shame still no pre-capture RAW.
Yeah. Look, I mean, that's Steve Perry is not a fan of that. Seth talked about it in his live stream. Great live stream, Seth, just before I came on. And I think it's, you know, it's obviously the next step. I'm not going to make excuses for them. It's not. It's a JPEG. I would really be interested in understanding why we can shoot, you know, RAW, and we know this camera because Steve Perry showed us 2 minutes of shooting RAW without filling the buffer, and we've pretty much concluded the buffer, you can never fill it. You'll fill your card. And I think someone said that Rishi did the same thing. He just kept shooting until the battery went flat on his Z6III.
Yeah, he was shooting, that was video, I think.
Oh, it was video.
It was video,
I thought someone said still somewhere, but maybe I'm confused. There's a lot of information coming out at the moment. Anyway, it seems to be, because it's 24 megapixels instead of 45, like the Z8 and Z9, but it's using the same pipelines, I would guess, it has no problems filling. And if you use your Z8 or Z9 on HE star full frame, the buffer also... Can everyone hear the boat leaving? that was Joe. That wasn't. We're near a big harbour and there's a boat leaving. Yeah, in HE Star, you don't fill the buffer, if memory serves me correctly. So it's absolutely amazing. But you, Joe, had a brilliant idea about how do you get over raw.
Well,
Go.
you know, pre-capture is always something that has me on edge. Only having that 1 second buffer of data. What I would be doing is if you see a bird that's...
Something's... keep talking, Joe, but we've lost the camera.
Oh.
I think it's probably just gone to sleep. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay.
We'll be back.
Oh, my God.
Is it back? Oh, we're back.
We're back. Great.
Sorry, everybody. I forgot. This thing's been on for half an hour, and I just forgot to set the time to endless. So remind me in the comments in half an hour. I've got to go touch the thing. Anyway, keep going.
Okay. So instead of waiting for the bird to move and pressing the shutter, just hold the shutter down until the bird moves. 10, 20, 30 seconds, it doesn't really matter, even if it's a minute, because that's the pre-capture. Just call it 5 minutes if you like, because you never run into the buffer.
So it's a great idea, because because there seems to be no buffering. Just hold on to the button. Just hold on. Woo-hoo, here we go. Just, you know, whenever you think something. But no, that's... So it's interesting, and, you know, because what we're learning here about the Z6III, maybe the Z6III could even be more likely to have a raw pre-capture, and maybe it's just simply market segmentation. They just thought we can't have it do it when the Z8 and the Z9 don't. Who knows? Maybe it's coming, maybe it can't come. I really don't know. It will definitely come in the next generation because their competitors are doing it if it's not in this generation. But I just don't know if it's firmware upgradable.
Cully Sparks asks an interesting question. Does the sensor have an anti-aliasing filter, an AA filter?
I don't know. Yeah, don't know.
I guess we'd have to take some photos of some...
Do you want to have a look? No. We don't actually have a Z6III here. We were trying to pretend, but we couldn't do it. Yeah. Hey, Baron is in the house. How are you? Yes, the sensor does. Thank you, Baron. So Baron is telling us it does have an anti-aliasing filter on it, which I suppose does make sense at 24 megapixels. So
yeah,
thank you, Baron. You've arrived at exactly the right moment.
Now, when you were shooting with the camera, because you had it for a while, were you changing out batteries? I know the ENEL15Cs work.
Yep.
Do the original batteries, let's say from the original Z6, I think that when I got this,
they're Bs.
No, this is just ENEL15.
Yeah.
I wonder if the original batteries work.
Okay, so what I can tell you is, and I've lost my magnet, and there it is. I'm going to just hold this because it's not connecting to my scarf very well. With the ZF, and maybe the Z8, the original 15s seem to stop working.
Right.
And I just think they don't have enough oomph in them. I didn't test an A, but I'm pretty sure Bs and Cs do.
Okay, I'd be interested because I've got...
Yeah, I've got lots of all of them.
Like 15 of them.
Yeah. I'm confident the originals don't. Not sure about the A's. Confident about the B's and C's. I'm sure someone's looked at that spec. If you have it handy, let us know. And everybody, please don't forget to like. Like will get this out because we've just done this impromptu live stream. If you like it, if everyone hits on like, then there'll be more people that get to know about this live Q&A. And yeah, that'd be great. Now, don't forget, if you've got any questions, QQQ. Whilst Joe, what have you got?
Yeah, I've got another question. Out of the two cameras, I mean, obviously we've recently seen the ZF come out. If you were to choose between the ZF and the Z6III, what are the differences between those two? Because they're similar prices.
Yeah.
And it seems like they might be aimed at slightly different markets. What would be the camera for you and why?
For me?
Yeah, for you.
Oh, I'm a bit unusual because I like all cameras.
Yes, you are.
I don't discriminate, let alone Nikon. It's sort of everything. It's when my wallet runs out. But maybe could we refine that slightly to
Okay.
Well,
straight.
All right. No, I can answer that question. So in the US, we're obviously talking about $500 difference, and in Australia, we're talking about a $1,000 difference. So that's the monetary differential. If I'm shooting professionally or I'm walking around the streets for hours on end, ergonomics is really important to me. So just from an ergonomic perspective, I will choose the Z6III over the ZF.
Okay.
And then the 6K and the 5.4K I prefer over the ZF. It'll be really interesting to test the difference in the sensors from an ISO perspective and dynamic range perspective. I'm guessing they're similar but not the same, because they're obviously very, one's semi-stacked and one's not. So it's clearly not the same sensor. Is the Z6III superior in that area? It might be. It might be. The kind of rolling, the speed and the rolling shutter stuff doesn't really bother me. Obviously, having stickier AF and all that. Oh, no, the ZF, sorry. I'm talking versus the Z6II.
Yep.
I think the ZF and the Z6III were very similar from an AF perspective. So, no, but I would choose the Z6III from if I had to choose one or the other. Definitely. I think the differential, the 500 in the US and the 1000 in Australia, is easily made up for with the specs of the Z, like it is a Z8, just with 24 megapixels essentially. Very few differences.
Yep.
Like you're getting all of the the skin smoothing and all like everything. I mean, you're even getting some things the Z8 doesn't have, a few minor things, which I think they'll all catch up in firmware at some point. Any differences?
J Blue just asks what the expected shipping date is in Australia.
I believe it's like in a week.
Early
the 20,
July?
No, the 20. I think the 25th is the day, but I know that the expectation is very high interest. So get your orders in. It would be my advice.
Okay.
I think globally it's going to be a big hit.
Great. Gustavo asks about the EVF experience.
Oh wow! So that to me is really one of the highlights. I mean, there are lots of highlights to this camera, but the fact that Nikon, what they're showing us here is their plans for the future, and basically, what I see as the plan is they're slowly going to push us closer and closer to a DSLR experience, which I already think, like I was using the Z50 and the Z9 for a recent video that you might have seen about the 56mm Viltrox. And I'm flipping between the Z50 and the Z9. It's like, oh, the Z9, the EVF is just outstanding. It's so good. But the Z6III is even better. It's got more color, so it makes it more like the real world.
Yep.
It's got more brightness, makes it more like the real world. It's got more resolution, makes it more like the real world. So on those three metrics, it's a whole step above, the flagship.
Yep.
So I can't wait to see what a Z9 II's EVF looks like. But no, it's an amazing experience, and it's just getting better and better. And for those that are still in DSLR and worried about that sort of thing, I don't think it's an issue with a camera it's not an issue with a Z8 or a Z9, but it's even less of an issue with a Z6III. And it's also one of these things that I'm sure you could comment on, Joe, is that once you spend a couple of days with an EVF, you've forgotten the differences that are negative, and all you're enjoying is the positives, like the fact that you see your image before you take the photo.
Yes.
Whereas if you're shooting at night in the dark, through a mirrored camera, it's dark and you can hardly see what you're doing.
Well, I've been shooting with an EVF for more than 22 years. So
there you go. What is that?
This is a Nikon Coolpix 5700.
All right.
And
that's a collectible.
It is. It's an entire 5 megapixel body.
Love that.
Unbelievable camera.
Show that flip out screen.
And a flippy screen. Look at that.
Nikon were doing it 22 years ago.
Haven't had a problem with it for 22 years. Mind you, I haven't shot it for about 20 years, but it's never been a problem.
Love it.
Benjamin Tupper asks about the autofocus compared to the Z6II. G'day, Benjamin. And he's shooting mainly families and events and portraits and that type of stuff.
Yeah, look, I mean, during our testing, we're under NDAs. We can't really take them into the real world without sort of hiding. So you don't get to test everything that you want to test. But obviously we are at Z8, Z9 levels when it comes to people. And for example, some examples that I do have is when I was shooting the 240 frames and I was tracking my kids and then that bucket, and I didn't try it just did it. So I think the AF is spectacular. Obviously, it's super duper low light AF as well, and I'm probably guessing that it's their best AF, mirrorless AF to date, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah,
like it had no problems tracking any. When you're testing these cameras, there's so many things for us to think about and test, and I think because now we're spoiled with XPEED 7, I didn't think too hard about the AF because I just did it.
Yeah.
So I just did it. That's my answer.
But further to that, Mark Mole asks about the AF for bird photography. Will there be just a specific setting that may roll out in future firmware, or just the animal setting that it's currently got?
Okay, so this is my guess. Obviously, Z6III has been in creation probably for, somewhere between 2 and 4 years. There's a hell of a lot of things they've got to get together to get a camera to market, and my guess is, like the Z8 and the Z9, that the bird AF, the bird specific AF, came later.
Yep.
I think I would be shocked if it didn't come later. That's my answer. I don't have any inside information, but because it's got the same processor and because it's just doing everything that the Z8 and Z9 do, yes, I'd be hard pressed to think it's not. And with people like Steve Parry saying that this is a good birding camera, I think it is.
Well, he's probably one of the top bird photogrophers that's
in this space.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's right. So I'd be confident for it to be good enough to use anyway.
Yeah.
Now another question, Roy Bixby. G'day, Roy.
Howdy, Roy.
He's asking, does the Z6III EVF drop resolution at high frame rates like the Sony cameras? Good question.
I don't think so. I don't think the Z8 and Z9 do that. I didn't notice. I've got to be honest with you. I didn't do high speed still testing with my time with the Z6III. That'll come next. I'm hopefully getting another unit in the next couple of days. So we'll get back into the endless, the heat tests, the long tests, the autofocus. There's so many areas, isn't it? But I think everyone can be very confident that if a Z8 or a Z9 can do it, this camera will be the same.
Yeah,
that's what I think. Not sure what happens when the shutter's firing and how that might be different. Seth, if you're still there, you might have some thoughts about that if you're still in the comments.
Got a question about when you first started shooting the camera.
Yep.
What were the features that surprised you with the experience of the camera?
I think the things that I noticed straight away is the ergonomics. So straight away, how it feels in the hand, and the fact that it was just that little bit taller, so all of my hand fits on the grip, which I really like. And I also noticed straight away the stabilization and the EVF. Your Z8 and your Z6III are absolutely the sweet spot of ergonomics for someone who has bigger hands like me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of ergonomics and autofocus, can you recall if the camera has the focus where your thumb on the back monitor, like the ZF does, and you can move focus?
There's some fair stuff related to that. This camera's obviously come out eight months or whatever even longer after the ZF, so it might be there.
Yeah, okay.
It's a great question.
All right. Can I ask for?
Well, that's just an ad.
I was skipping this ad. Okay. Can I ask for brand equivalents?
Oh yeah.
So with Canon, I think maybe the R3.
Well, it's R6II price wise. It's got some R3-ness about it for sure.
Yeah, and that's in Australian dollars, 8,000. 8,200.
Yeah, twice the price.
Twice the price. Not as many features, except it's a full professional body for longer shoots.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about the R3. Does the R3 have 6K? Because, and I mean, something we haven't talked about yet in this video, which is not of interest to everybody, I understand that, which is 6K, 60 frames per second, RAW, full frame, internal. Like that is just a technological feat.
Yep.
And I've
Let me just check the video. Keep going.
Yeah, check the video. Okay, good. One thing a lot of people still comment about is, I
have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you've got your mic on. Just remember that. You might want to leave it. One thing I think some people don't realize is that as the video features get better, the stills features get better as well. And one services the other. So, for example, we now have 120 frames per second JPEG in APS-C. So that's a shooting speed. And what that also means is basically almost exactly the same thing is the 120 frames per second in 4K in APS-C. So yes, that video spec has increased, but the stills spec is the same. And it's interesting. We have theorized the fact that we can get 6K 60 frames per second internal RAW. Why can't we get that in stills? Now, the difference is there that it's 12-bit instead of 14-bit. And would people accept it? Would people accept 12-bit RAW? Now, there might be some other reasons why that doesn't work. There might be other reasons why you can't just turn that the 6K 60 frames raw video into stills. Or I would advise people, if you want raw 12-bit, then shoot video. That might work for you as well. So yes, but Joe's literally driven off. I'm a bit distracted by him going. Let me have a look here at the any more questions, and please don't forget to like. Any more questions in the yes, Gustavo, we talked about the stacked sensor a while ago, but any more questions that anybody has, please do let us know in the comments below. We are still running there. What's Jay? Jay Blue's unhappy. I'm not sure why he's unhappy. Jay Blue, tell me why you are unhappy. Oh, audio's dropping out badly. That's no good. Okay. Thank you for letting us know. Let's have a look. Everything's still connected. This is the beauty of seems good now. Okay, I'll just move my phone over here. Sorry, Will. How long did we lose audio for? What are you saying there, Seth? If they add SSD recording to this camera for 6K 60, forget about it. Yeah. Thank you, Deborah. Okay, so I don't know how much of what I said you guys didn't hear, so we'll just keep moving forwards. Yeah, so the Z6III is shipping in, I believe, in about a week, and definitely be great to get your orders in early. Look, what I'm excited about this camera is you can get pretty much everything that a Z8 is. Everything that it is except for 45 megapixels versus 24 megapixels. And something that I did want to talk about was the idea that some people had expected or wanted more megapixels, like let's say 33 or 30 megapixels. The thing I really want to stress about this, and I'm really not trying to apologize for anything by saying this, is that if you actually look at the pixel count, a 24 megapixel camera is 6,000, I think it's 6,048 or 6,024 megapixels wide. And a 33 megapixel is 7,000 and something like 7,004 pixels wide on the long edge. So the difference is like 950 pixels. And then if you think about how a frame is composed, and so on the long edge, you're talking about 400 pixels on one side, 450 odd pixels on one side, and 450 odd pixels on the other side. It's something like a 13% difference. So not only is it in real mathematical number terms not that much of a difference, it's also, once you take into account, in some circumstances you can use pixel shift, which is something we haven't talked about yet. So if you're doing still life, product photography, landscape, cityscape, like there's lots of places you can use pixel shift. There's obviously more places that you can't. If you're doing all of those things, pixel shift, you've got 96 megapixels, you're in business, and they're beautiful, clean, amazing, just gorgeous files. So that's one way. And now, of course, we are in this position where AI enlargement is a phenomenal thing. So you can pretty much jump into Photoshop, and I think they're rolling these things into Lightroom, press a button, and your 24 megapixels or your 6,000 pixels becomes 12,000 pixels, and really there's no difference to all of it. So to me, and it's not like you're gonna, whenever you want to blow an image up, it's just the keeper, it's just the one that you're going to hang on the wall. So you're only doing this to maybe 1 or 3 images out of a shoot. If you, let's say you're a birder, out of a shoot of, I don't know, 3,000 images, you might do it to 1 or 3. And so the tools available to us to go beyond 24 megapixels, whether it's pixel shift, whether it's AI, we have the tools to do it now. So I kind of just see it as a non-issue. And then there's all the other things that the 24 megapixel sensor allows for. It allows for better ISO performance, better dynamic range performance. And in the case of this particular sensor, Nikon have created something very special, and we've got this semi-stacked sensor, which is very fast. As Steve Perry has already told us, there doesn't appear to be rolling shutter when using the electronic shutter in his early tests of birds in flight. So it's this great sort of middle ground, and I really don't think, I just genuinely don't think you get that much more for 30 megapixels, 33 megapixels in genuine real terms that you can't solve if you get a keeper that you really want to blow up big. And then my second part of all of this is market segmentation. I don't think we can have a 33 megapixel camera, and there's birds and sirens. I don't know if you can hear them. Let me just have a quick look at the questions. Any more questions? How are we going with the audio? Please QQQ if you have any questions. But yeah, then we get the market segmentation between 33 and 45, and I just don't think it's enough. It just doesn't make sense to me. I genuinely think that Nikon are going to stick at 45.7 for their flagship. I think until there's a major change in technology when it comes to sensors and so on, which we just haven't seen any major changes in a long time, in regards to photo site sizes and how we collect more light. 45.7 megapixels is a real sweet spot for 8K, for file size, for 4K. They've thought really hard about this size and how it works across so many things that you want a flagship and an all-rounder camera to be. And I also will continue to talk about the fact that as humans, our eyes are not getting any better. We don't really need more megapixels for the majority of us. Yes, there's always people who want to crop more and crop harder. I get it, and fantastic. I'm very comfortable with that. That you want that, but the majority of us don't need more than 45 megapixels. So if Nikon stick there for the time being, I just don't see a 33 and a 45. I just don't see it, and at the price point. And if you look at what the Z8 brings, it brings so much at its price point. So to me, it's really good market segmentation. And it does make me think a little bit about the Z7III. And I did have a few questions on my video. I've actually got quite a lot of questions about a Z7III. I have no inside information about a Z7III. And I will just talk about what I've talked about before, which is, welcome back, Joe. It's good to have you back.
Thanks, Matt.
I've been filling for you. For me, a Z7III, now that we have the Z6III, and what they've done is to improve on immensely what a Z6II was. Like, we've got a lot of tweaks, but they're all really, really good ones. So I could now see a Z7III that is still 45.7 megapixels, but it's literally the best 45.7 megapixel sensor we have ever seen. Like, just the best. And video will still be part of it, but that won't be its main intention. Or the other version of the Z7 III is just simply a higher megapixel camera, whether it's like 60 like the A7R5 or beyond, and it's a much slower camera, and thus video is probably not a big part of it. They're the only two versions of the Z7 III that I can see, and it somehow needs to fit in all of this price wise, because it needs to be less than a Z8 in price, or more megapixels than a Z8, and then maybe it can be maybe it could be the same price as a Z8 if it has more megapixels.
There's just such a slim area that a Z7 III can fit now. Is it even a relevant camera anymore?
Well, I think so if it's the best picture quality, best dynamic range, and it's not worrying about speed.
Yeah, okay.
Like, it's not worrying about speed, it is worrying about absolute picture quality. And I can imagine, you know, the sensor team at Nikon HQ, there's people they've got a 45 megapixel sensor. Yep. They're now up to, how many generations have we got? We've got the D850, Z7, Z7 II, Z9, and Z8. We've got 5 potentially different generations of the 45.7 megapixel. And there will be a team of people who are specifically going, what else can we do with this? How do we give it more dynamic range? How do we give it higher ISO? But we're not trying to make it a speed demon. And then can we bring something to the table where landscape, portrait, still life, commercial photographers, wedding photographers just go, wow. And I mean, I know we talk about 16-bit on and off, and the GFX, the Fuji cameras do it.
Yep.
Maybe that. Like, it really is specifically. Like, so to me, I'm not saying it will happen, but I'm saying you do all those things, then you've created a space in the market that makes sense.
Yes.
And for what I've done for the last 35 years of my life, which is shooting what we're looking at here, which is why we're here, and then turning it into really large prints and canvases, then that is the camera that I want.
So it's a studio / landscape
portrait.
Yeah. Okay.
Commercial though, like a commercial like
camera,
when I do commercial photography, which is like lifestyle, you know, it's for a bank or it's for a new hotel being built. Yep. We do not need speed. We need no speed.
Yeah, and you might be
2 frames a second is all I need.
And you might be delivering something that needs to be on the side of a building.
Yeah. Well, they just want absolute quality and absolute, like, in an advertising agency wants the most flexibility they can get.
Yeah. Because
they go, oh, we're going to repurpose this image for a bus campaign, a bus stop campaign, a cinema campaign. Mm-hmm. And, oh, you know, now we want to pull everything we can out of the shadows. So, yeah, no, there is a place for the Z7 III. I think it would be wise to curveball it like we've just been talking about now, and really, you know, make, you know, I've fantasized about the medium format, the small medium format Z. Okay, if you're not going to give me that, then give me what I just talked about there. A 16-bit slow Z7 III with anywhere from 50 to whatever megapixels.
Sounds like a Z1.
What do you think, people? Well, no, it's a Z7 III.
Okay, Z7
the Z1 is your,
that's my fantasy.
Is your rangefinder.
No,
very simple.
Well, no, it's still got an EVF. It's not a rangefinder.
No, but like style.
Yeah, okay.
Style.
All right.
Which basically the ZF got close to.
Yes.
Interestingly.
Okay. Yeah, no, it did. It did, because we're talking low megapixel then.
We were talking stripped back low megapixels, but remember, it was super high quality and high ISO. That's what the ZF came in at.
Well, you know,
watch that video. It's a fun video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we have a question from Deborah. G'day, Deborah.
Hey, Deborah, how you doing? Atlanta, Georgia, I think you said earlier.
Does the weight feel closer to the Z8 or the Z6II?
Oh, easily the Z6 II. It is. I love the DNA that they've done here. They've basically said, all right, let's make a Z6 II. Let's make it as close to the Z6 II as we can for size and weight. And they've done that. Like, there's only like 3 mils height or 5 mils height, which 5 mils is about 1/5 of an inch, not very much. And then it's just like, for me, I didn't even look at the weight difference, but I think there might be 100. If anyone's in there, excuse me, if anyone's in the comments and knows the weight difference, it might be 100 grams. So very small.
Solid Rock 7 Entertainment asks,
G'day, Solid Rock.
What's Sorry about that. What is the external
rubbernecking, baby. Well, that's all right by me.
Can you record to a Ninja? There you go.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, the camera's gone to sleep. We forgot to press it. Wow, that's another half hour, I suppose.
There you go.
Fantastic. Can you record to a Ninja? Well, I tell you, what I love, because some people are going, I want to record video to that second card slot. Yeah, which it doesn't do. And, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons for that. But you can totally get it back up via HDMI, 100%. So, yes, your HDMI keeps working. It's from what I've noted, Nikon's HDMI implementation seems to be one of the best because it's clean and they allow for you to display what's in your EVF if you want to do that, which is super useful.
And that's been all the way from the Z6, the first release of the first Z iteration.
Yep.
Okay.
Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you very much. Thank you.
What is the difference from pixel shift and just stitching them together, making a pano?
Well, pixel shift, you're in the one spot, and it's basically moving the pixels one pixel, and you're getting the like this frame you can see here. With pixel shift, it literally does 32 images and combines them to give you an ultra high res version of what you're seeing here. Whereas a pano is you're scrolling across and you're getting more other stuff. So they're different techniques.
Joseph, love your name, Joseph.
G'day, Joseph.
Is asking, is the LCD a touch screen? And yes, it is. It is indeed. Is it a responsive touch screen?
Well, we didn't have a response. We didn't go to Response Academy on that one. I'm sorry. No, it seems the same as all of them.
Roy Bixby.
G'day, Roy. Good to see you.
Saying Z6III is the love child of a Z8 and a ZF. I'm not sure which channel that you were subscribed to see that, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, I would throw in there and a Z6,
okay.
A Z6 II. So it's a ménage à trois.
Could you feel, Arnold is asking, could you feel an improved stabilization while shooting?
Oh, absolutely. The stabilization's fabulous ever since the Z9, where it just went to a next level, and they seem to have, with the Z8 and the Z9 seem to be similar, and then the ZF is even better, and the Z6III is ZF level. And there might be a perception, Joe, of the Z6III being even better than the ZF because of the ergonomics. You can hold the camera just that little bit more snugly and firmly. So, yeah, best in class. Which, of course, I've always said Nikon's IBIS is really, really good. I'd like to do some more vlogging tests, but yeah, it's definitely right at the top of their game and the game, along with the EVF, I think being the best in the market today of everything.
Ross Forte, g'day Ross.
G'day Ross.
He's asking, would you choose the ZF or the Z6III for wedding photography?
Well, it might come down to branding, If I liked to, and I did shoot weddings for, 15 years and did over 100 of them. If you would like to turn up to a wedding in an orange suit, because as wedding photographers, we're often kind of like the ringmaster. You have to often control 50, 100, 200 people in a nice way, but wrangling 200 people who are slowly getting more intoxicated requires a high degree of skill. And to all wedding photographers out there, I know your pain. And it's a joyful pain because it's kind of fun. But yeah, you do have to be larger than life. And so wearing an orange suit might be part of that, Joe. And thus you do need your Sunset Orange ZF with you in that case. Absolutely. But no, I would shoot with a Z6III.
And Greg's asking, which camera are you currently shooting with? What are you live streaming with?
Yes, I'll talk about that in a second, but I just have to shout out that, no, I don't. No. Yeah. So if you've seen my Leica M11 video starring Mr. Wayne Buckner, come on around, Wayne, and say hi to everybody. Wayne's just turned up. He's obviously seen us live streaming. He's worked out where we are. Is he here with the mono?
With the mono.
There's a mono video coming.
I'm so sorry.
No, you should pull up a chair. If you can find a chair. I didn't bring a third chair, but we'd love to have you in the conversation. Otherwise, you can crouch. That looks really uncomfortable.
It's not the most comfortable.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll go back to answering the question.
Yep.
So we are streaming on the Z9, and what's interesting is that the Nikon web utility software on Mac currently doesn't work with the latest Mac update. But I bought this little thing. I don't know if you can see it here, but this is an HDMI to USB adapter, which basically turns it into a webcam via HDMI. So we're just running a Z9 via HDMI, and it's working brilliantly. I'm actually really happy with it.
Really, the only advantage in this circumstance, shooting with the Z9, is just the battery life.
Yes.
And so if you're powering off an external source for this type of work, Z6III, Z6II, most of the Z cameras will be fine. Now,
yes, and of course we could have external power in there, but we don't plan on being here for more than 2.5 hours. So,
okay.
But we do have a giant battery sitting right next to it to plug in via USB-C if we need to. So you can do that as well. You can battery eliminate.
Now, Solid Rock 7 again. I really like this question because I kind of relate to this as well. Do you think a full-length documentary can be shot with the Z6III?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I think Nikon's place in filmmaking, this story, we are seeing it beginning now. And I would have said that before the purchase of Red. For people who haven't experienced what a Z8 and a Z9 can do for you, and this is in 10-bit, or you can shoot in ProRes, which is just a glorious codec. Yes, it takes up like 5 gigabytes in 5 minutes, but it's superb. And then, of course, we've got NRAW and everything else. So those cameras were amazing. What's amazing about this camera is that it's little, it's light. You still get 6K, which is more than enough for Netflix, motion picture usage, like a digital projection. And to me, it's just a matter of certification. Well, getting it in people's hands.
That's right. Which platform are you delivering to? Can I say that I've been doing some work for local council that I'm going to get back onto, and the footage, even with the original Z6, is interchangeable with a Z9.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're going to have any issues. It's just a matter of, correct lighting, great shooting, think through your shots. The camera's going to be a monster anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, the only things, we've got quite a few cues in there.
Yep, we've got performance with the F to Z adapter is one of the questions someone's asking.
Oh, yeah, no different. I mean, the F to Z rocks. I just wanted to say a few more things about video.
Yes.
The thing about the cinema industry is they're used to rigging cameras a certain way and having certain I/O and certain time code, interfaces and so on. So when you're making the decision to use a mirrorless hybrid a camera that's essentially designed for photography, like it's got the ergonomics of a stills camera, then the practitioner who says, yeah, I want to use a Z6III to shoot my first Netflix documentary just needs to take that into account and make their crew aware of it, because it's the crews that aren't used to it. And I love these crews; they're amazing people. It's just not what's been the standard.
Yep.
But of course, once you put a small rig cage on it or another brand of cage, and you start to rig it with all the stuff, it pretty quickly becomes a very similar proposition. And there's a few things. There's probably still a couple of things. It depends on the size of your shoot. Like if you're doing large multicam shoots, some of the ways they talk to each other are different, and there's not the I/O for that. But if you're doing a documentary where it's just you, oh my God, this thing's ready to rumble, baby.
Yeah, pop it on a gimbal and away you go.
Yeah, or maybe not even.
Well, there you go.
It's that good.
That's how stable it is.
I think so. I want to do more testing, but it's pretty impressive.
Okay.
Sorry, back to that other question. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm very excited for it, for the space you're talking about. And at the price point, 6K, like this is the thing. I don't believe anyone else does 6K raw 60 frames internal, and you just whack it on a CF Express Type B card and you're off. I don't think any other manufacturer offers that. Please let me know if I'm talking out of in the mirrorless hybrid space that we're talking about, where these things are photographic cameras.
But even 4K 120 for documentary work, if you're doing wildlife work, 4K 120 is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the fact that you've got ProRes RAW HQ, like, it's bananas.
Yep. Okay, we've got a...
Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Roy again is asking about, he's saying Z6III still unhappy with dummy batteries.
Is that a question or a statement?
It's a question.
No idea.
Is Z6III still unhappy with dummy batteries? Oh, is the Z6III still unhappy with dummy batteries?
Well, I've used dummy batteries in my Z6. I would have thought it's just the same. I can't answer that right now. Ask me again next week. if I manage to get a camera. Okay,
who else have we got? Oh, Ross, well picked. Yes, this is Albert Park Lake.
Yes. Here we are. This is where the Grand Prix is. Yeah, it was here just Melbourne Grand Prix, just like 3 months ago.
A couple months ago, yeah, 2 or 3 months.
In summer, and you might be wondering, well, where it's winter. We're in the southern hemisphere, it's winter, and it was 2 degrees C when we got up this morning. It's warming up now, though. I might almost be able to take my jacket off.
Ben Collins asks, what is the light bulb button next to the top LCD screen?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's to illuminate that screen. That's it.
Pretty straightforward.
I don't think it does anything else. I don't think there are any other screens.
It's quite handy.
Yeah. I mean,
yep.
What that is, if you're, say, doing a nighttime, starlight shoot or whatever, and it's sat on a tripod and you're looking down, and I'm like, I can't quite make out what was said. Press the button, bang.
Yep.
It's in the right spot.
Oh, one of the other things, sorry, going back to recording documentaries, is the time code sync as well. This camera's got time code.
Yes, it's got the ultra blue sync, yes.
Does the Z6II have time code or not?
It has time code, but it doesn't have that blue sync.
It doesn't have the blue sync.
Doesn't have the to the best of my memory, doesn't have the Bluetooth syncing.
Okay. Good.
Which is a great feature. Yep.
Okay.
And of course it works with the MCN10, which we have over here today.
Okay, and we did touch on before. I'm just going through my notes.
Yeah, go through your notes. Any more QQQs? Hit us up in the comments there.
Oh, Roy asks, do the buttons light up with the LED?
No, I checked that, and I don't think they're illuminated buttons. There's not so many buttons on the back anyway. I suppose there is about 8. No, there's plenty of buttons on the back. I retract that statement.
Okay, just going through the questions still. Any questions, just QQQ.
Like and subscribe. Buy us a coffee. We're freezing as well. Hit the super chat, thanks thing. Why not?
Okay, we've
How
got
long have we been going for?
Solid Rock's also asking, Z6III
3
with the Ninja
yeah, if you want.
5, would it be good to use?
I don't think they're open. Sorry, go on. How's the shot looking, people? I know it's getting brighter and brighter, so the city has disappeared, but we've actually got auto exposure going. I'm pretty happy with it. But yeah, sorry, what was the next question?
Okay, Solid Rock is just asking, recording with a Ninja, would it be good to use as a second camera in documentary work?
Oh, definitely. I mean, with the Ninja, is that because of the codecs you want from the Ninja, or you want a backup from the Ninja, or you want to use the Ninja as a screen? I mean, it does all those things. So you can do all of those things. You can shoot internal and backup. You can use it as a screen.
Yep.
You've got choices. They're yours. Choose them.
Card slots. How many card slots, and what are they?
49. There are 49. No, they're not. There are 2 card slots. We have the beautiful CF Express Type B, which is just such a fabulous format that just keeps getting cheaper and better. There's absolutely no requirement for this to be 4.0 because it's obviously got less bandwidth.
I'm going to. Paul has commented that we're a bit washed out.
Oh, a bit washed out.
So I'm going to bump down the the ISO.
No, don't do that. The overcompensation.
Yeah, I've done that.
Done that. Great.
How's
Thanks,
that,
Paul.
Paul?
This is what happens when you're live. At least it didn't start raining. What were we talking about? I've gone blank.
Card slots.
Oh, yeah.
46 of them.
So it's Gen 3, I think. I actually don't know. And because it's pushing less data than a Z8 and a Z9, clearly it doesn't need 4 because they don't use 4. So it's totally commensurate with what is required. And then, of course, we've got the high-speed SD card slot. And, you know, I think it works fine. Like, the reason SD is still there is because you can buy them on every street corner, you know, and everybody's got a lot of them. But CF Express Type B is actually cheaper. It's becoming cheaper than like, if you want to buy a high-speed SD card, they're becoming more expensive than just Type B, which are all fast.
Yep.
Even the slow ones are faster. So, you know, we're reaching a tipping point, and who knows? I suppose what needs to happen is CF Express Type B needs to be in the local 7-Eleven or the corner store, and that might be the game changer.
Maybe you should start selling.
Oh, well, there's an idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Wink, wink, Joe, like this.
That's right.
Will Matt ever sell CF Express Type B cards?
I'd buy one.
Oh, would you?
Or two.
Let us know in the comments below. Would you buy one from me, especially if it's a super good quality one? Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Great. Okay, Paul, great suggestion to turn the sun off.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
If only. But oh, look, we're seeing some skyscrapers there now in the background. I think that's good. That's real. Any more QQQs?
Which would you pick for lower light event photography, a Z8 or a Z6III? Low light event photography.
Look, there's no question that when you've got 24 megapixels versus 45, that the 24 is better at low light. That's just physics. There's nothing we can do about it. And if you're doing event photography, you often don't need high megapixels, so it's actually a bit more efficient to be at 24. I would say. Like, I've been doing events my entire career, and you know, sometimes you might want to crop, sometimes, but I love the term that Steve Perry uses, which is, and I'm going to start using it. Thanks, Steve. Which is field craft. And field craft is part of a photographer's responsibility to choose the right lens in the right moment. And for me, you know, I've been doing this a long time, and we didn't have things like cropping. You know, we didn't crop. We just had to either use our feet or use our lens. Field craft. I'm with you, Steve. So, no, 24, excellent.
Wasn't there an event
for dark events?
Wasn't there an event that you shot recently with only 2 primes? You had the 85 mil.
You're close. You're close.
It was the 50 and the 135.
You're close. You're close. So what I experimented with was using the 135 Planner instead of the 70 to 200, because I went from 2.8 to 1.8, and that was helpful in that situation. And how I was getting that lens out to 200 was cropping it to DX. That worked really well. But yes, that's the opposite of what we're talking about. For low light, the Z6III is absolutely fantastic.
Yep. Okay, Chris Sloan asks about overheating with ProRes and RAW codecs. His Z8 gets a hot card warning within 10 minutes. And I think, was it Richie? Or I think Richie addressed that, saying that he was shooting he filled up 4 memory cards and still wasn't getting any heat warning.
Is this on his Z6III?
Yeah, on the Z6III.
Yeah.
But he was shooting with the Z6III.
Yeah.
It was over an hour of shooting continuous while changing memory cards, and still didn't get any heat warnings.
Yeah. So look, there's a few things we've learned over the last couple of years. Not all CF Express Type B cards are made equal. Some have better thermal performance than others, and this is pretty much proven. Especially older ones, but I think some brands are doing a better job at thermals than others. So don't assume the thermal issues are all related to the camera. It might actually, it's worth And I've done some Googling, and this is true. It's worth Googling ones that have fantastic thermal performance if this is something that's important to you. If you're just doing stills, maybe not so much. The other thing is, of course, ambient temperature. Everything will overheat at some point. Now, Rishi would have been doing his tests probably indoors, probably climate control, probably between, let's say, 20 and 25 C, I would guess.
It was 18, he said. So
18.
Quite
okay.
cool.
That's cool. Gerald Undone did testing. Again, I think it was probably at the 2021. He said something about it. I can't remember the number. And he said absolutely no problems running the raws for extended periods. So, but if you are like, we're here in Melbourne, it's winter, no worries. But if it was summer, it might be 40. We could have the same day and it's 43 degrees and the sun's beating down on a black, like cameras are black, right? So they absorb, that means they absorb heat. I would not expect any camera without a fan. And if you look on movie sets, when they're in the desert, often the cameras have umbrellas on them, even the $1 million cameras. So everything has its limits, and sometimes I think we expect too much. So yeah, it's all about ambient temperature, but you can help things. You can help things with a few, there are ways to help things. Get the right cards, use external power, keep every door and open and have your screen pulled away if you're starting to get to the envelope where you're pushing things. And some people, I remember when the R5 came out, some people even put little electric fans on the back, and that stuff helped. Like the Fuji X-H2S, you can buy an external fan
if it's mission critical.
If it's mission critical. So there are lots of ways around this, but I don't remember the person's name who asked the question, but where are you in the world and how hot is it? And are you in direct sunlight? Please let us know in the comments below.
Paul Hoff. G'day again, Paul.
Hey, Paul. I saw you in the comments on the other video. Good to see you here in the live stream. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to buy Joe a coffee, he needs one. Super chat, super thanks. Love your work.
Paul's just asking about if you've got any inside running on a Z7 III.
Well, we did talk about that, half an hour ago now. No, I have zero inside running on it, and I don't think we will see it. I'm just guessing that with how kind of crowded this sort of price point is, the fact that the Z8 was a 45 megapixel camera that's a year old now, I just think it's too soon. But I did say I can see a space in the market for a Z7 III if they do something special with it. Rewind. Watch the rewind. Rewind about half an hour, and we talk about it.
Yep.
At length.
Roy Bixby again. G'day, Roy again. Hey, he's asking about any compatibility issues with flashes with the Z6 III.
I do use flashes, but I don't use them as much as my dear friend Mr. Seth Miranda. And when you talk about compatibility, do you mean in brands? So, you know, what I've heard, because I own Profoto, and Nikon have a pretty tight relationship. I have no problems with my flashes, my specific flashes, but we live in a very electronic world where there's firmware and everything is changing all the time. So I couldn't categorically say that every flash works the same as it might. But my guess is with mechanical shutter, and as long as your flash just fires through the normal hot shoe, I can't see why there would be any issues at all. It's just from the good old fashioned way we've been doing things for, I don't know, since the 1950s. You've got a shutter and you trigger it with an electronic pulse and it arrives at the appropriate moment and you're done.
Yep.
Oh, right. Thank you very much too. Got to get my glasses on.
Champagne Sumo.
Oh, Champagne Sumo. Hello. We need to buy you.
Yeah, for the drink fund.
No, we need to buy you one. And thank you so much, Deborah. Really appreciate it.
Great.
That is amazing. Thank you.
Well
done for ordering it. Congrats. That's so exciting, Deborah. I can't wait to hear what you think about your Z6 III. You might get it before the rest of us. Who knows?
Possibly.
I hope the USA has ordered many.
So Lucas, g'day Lucas, is asking about how long does an image review take after you've taken the photo compared to a Z6 II?
Look, that's a great question, which I didn't address. I have review turned off these days on my cameras. I actually have it turned off, and if I want to review, I just hit the play button. I find it to be very fast. So if memory serves me, like on a Z8 and a Z9, it's fast.
Yeah.
but I didn't actually test that. My apologies. I will. Give me a few days. We need to write all these questions down.
Yeah.
I'm going to run all of them.
Good. John Clark, no GPS. He's asking, is there any GPS or is that a statement?
There was no GPS in any of the notes that I got regarding the camera. So just so you know, when we get the cameras, we don't get the 700-page manual.
Yeah, the full spec.
So we don't get to go through it. I did fly through the menus. I don't think I saw a GPS, and it hasn't been talked about. And I wouldn't really expect it at this price point. And yes, you can use your phone.
Yeah, I use my phone.
Yeah.
So just sync in with your phone when you're taking photos. It's reading GPS location off your phone if you're using SnapBridge. So that's what I use.
Wayne, I've just had a thought. There might be a chair in my van. No, it's okay. All right.
Okay,
Keep going,
just going. From Champagne Sumo, would fit.
Oh yeah, I didn't answer the F to Z. Sorry. Yeah, you go.
I'm just getting through the question.
Yeah, you go.
It's really bright here.
Would fit be worthwhile to grate the Z6III even if you have I mainly do sport? Champagne, do you mind writing that question again? I don't quite follow.
I think I get the gist of the question.
Okay.
She's asked. I think you might be asking if the Z6III is suitable for sports and action.
Yes.
For me, whoops, just tapping the mic. I do a lot of sports and action. So
thanks, Jay.
A Z6III is definitely a camera that's on my radar when it comes out, just because of the reduced file size. It's still got the autofocus speed, I believe, of the Z9, which is my primary body that I use. So, and the fact that it's also a very a small and easy camera to handle in a lot of tight situations when I'm shooting in some circumstances, the Z6III is definitely one that I'm probably going to end up picking up at some stage. So, yeah.
Solid Rocks is just re-asking his question about the Ninja, and I think you're saying are the codecs in the Ninja the same as the codecs in the Z6III? I think they both. I haven't got the new Ninja, the Plus. I've got the original, and I don't recall what the new one does. But I think if you're using any RAW, like ProRes RAW or whatever, then it's all about your LUTs. So the answer to the question is, I think, yes, they will be compatible. I'd like to double check before you invested, $6,000 or whatever. But like I said, if you're using the same codec on your Ninja and on your Z6III, I think the answer would be yes.
So King Cruck is asking a question about the audio.
Yes.
I believe this has a new preamp.
Okay, so it's interesting. I used the camera and I was editing and I'm like, oh, that sounds a little bit more round, a little bit more, full volume. It's like a good glass of red wine. I know nothing about red wine. I'm just making that up. And I thought, maybe there's new preamps. And then anyway, Gerald Undone talked about it and said yes. And another thing that alerts you to it is there's now a setting for mic level or line level when you go into the mic, which I don't believe has been in any other Z camera. So the answer is yes, I think it's improved.
Great.
It is great.
Yeah, good. Chris Sloan's asking, open gate or false color, do we know if they're coming to this particular body?
Don't know. Haven't had that conversation.
Is the pre-capture RAW, Superluminal is asking, is pre-capture RAW?
No, we had a chat about that 45 minutes ago. So zoom back there and you'll hear what we had to say.
And Ross is also asking, do we know when stock will be available?
Where are you, Ross, in the world? I believe launch day is like in a week, as in ship day. But I also believe it's going to be extraordinarily popular. And so, I don't know how many will be left. Get your order in is all I can say.
Jay Blue has bought you a drink.
Oh, Jay Blue, bless your heart.
Excellent. Thanks, Jay Blue. All right, what else have we got? Are DSLRs a dying market? I still have a D500 and D850 with F-mount lenses.
No, those cameras are still as miraculously awesome as the day that you got them. It's just whether you want all the things that mirrorless brings. And for some use cases, maybe there isn't. But I do think things like in-body image stabilization, where you can have, like, I probably 85% of my F-mount lenses are not stabilized. They are all stabilized on any of the full frame. Doesn't matter whether you get a Z5, Z8, Z6II, they all become stabilized. And that's pretty epic for my type of photography. You actually get a live view of what you're shooting. Not necessarily a big deal to some people, but once you get used to it, it's kind of like that's just how it should be. And again, for my style of shooting, which is often in the dark, back in the DSLR days, I'd be shooting and I'm like, I can't even see. Like, my eyes can see better than what you could see through the OVF. And now you know the camera just amps up the gain and off you go. And then look, if you're interested, a lot of people aren't interested in video, but if you're interested in video, it's unbelievable. Obviously, in DSLR days, video was quite fledgling, and we're just at a whole other level. But we're also getting other things like increased frame rates that are now going beyond what a mechanical shutter can do. It seems that a mechanical shutter, the fastest ones around, sit at 14 or 16 FPS, somewhere in there, and they just are not getting any faster. And I don't think they will, and I don't think we need to, because sensors are going to get faster. And we can see with this semi-stack sensor, they're already trying to address that in the mid-tier, which is phenomenal, by the way. Let's not forget, it's 3.5 times faster than the Z6II. That is literally reading. Think about it. It's reading the whole sensor, and we're talking 24 million photo sites. So instead of doing it like this, it's going 3.5. Like, it's that much. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot faster.
I guess the other thing to keep in mind is that people have been taking beautiful photos for 100 years. So the thing that these new bodies offer is they just give you tools to achieve your outcome better, more reliably, and more consistently, I would say. So the place for DSLRs is still there. You just need to be a more skilled photographer in a lot of ways to get the same images consistently as you do with a mirrorless camera.
Yeah, I mean, again, some use cases, like if you're shooting that tree, a mirrorless, a non-moving object, a mirrorless versus a dead, it's not going to make much difference. But in sports and high-speed stuff, no question.
Yeah.
But another thing, and I think it's perhaps the most important part of the Nikon journey, and it's probably the same with Canon, not really the same with Fuji and Sony because they're kind of new, is that the quality of the mount and the optics are a phenomenal step difference. And this is not, I am not a Nikon ambassador. This is me as a photographer professional for 35 years who has spent a lot of money.
The planner.
Spent a lot of money buying the best glass I could in F mount.
Yep.
And
Yep, you're right. The glass.
Spent a lot of money making. I spent a lot of money buying the most expensive glass that you could buy, and this Z glass is a step above.
Well, these two lenses alone, the planner and the 85mm, they're unbelievable.
That's how you roll.
Yeah.
So that and it's not, to me, it's not even a generational step. It's like it's a whole new universe. Now, again, for some use cases, it won't matter. And that's fine. But for the use cases where it matters, it's phenomenal.
Yep. King Cluck is asking.
Do you want to text me, Wayne? I don't know what you're saying.
King Cluck is asking about NRAW with a Z6 color grading in DaVinci Resolve.
What can you do it, or have I done it?
How does it handle Look, I'll make it a more general question. How good is the Z6III in color grading with NRAW?
I didn't do it, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Yeah, but you would have done color grading in with your Apple with what's the program you use?
DaVinci, Final Cut.
No, Final Cut.
Yeah, I have. I mean, the files are no different to the Z8 and the Z9 in the sense of we're using the same codecs with the same ranges with them all.
Yep.
So no differences there.
Yeah, Chris is asking how do the files look compared to the Z8 and Z9?
Stills or
video?
I found the Z6 files to be very sumptuous, and I do think from a photo site perspective, and this is part of why I think Nikon sits around this level, is that the 24 is just such a sweet spot for absolute image fidelity. And I think 45 is the upper limit of that, and then as you go beyond, and look, every manufacturer does it differently, so I'm not talking about other manufacturers, but if you're wanting to push the shadows the hardest, if you're wanting to increase your exposure the most, 24 will give you more latitude than 45. It will. And we know that there are slight differences between global, stacked. Now we've got this new one. We've got a new one, semi-stacked. And what I think is super smart about this semi-stacked sensor is I don't think they've run into, I think they've deliberately created a sensor that doesn't run into any of the issues that are created by making a sensor go fast. And it's 24. So it's a double upside. Don't push the megapixels too hard, and don't push the speed too hard, but give us this just really sweet spot in the middle of everything.
Yep.
And I really mean it. I had only played with the JPEGs up until just before the video was released, and then when I saw the RAWs, I'm like, these are very good looking files.
Yep.
Very good looking files. Yep.
Okay, question coming from 7LZ. Number what?
Like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe.
I'm just going to ask the question.
Yeah, just ask the question.
If you had to choose for an everyday camera body, would you choose the Z8 or the Z6III?
Oh, that's so hard. That is so hard because of my professional use case, which is publishing books and releasing high-res original art pieces, the more pixels, the merrier. But then I remind myself that my Nikon D3, which was the best camera I ever, it made me cry, it was that good. It was 12 megapixels. And then I jumped from 12 to essentially the D800, which was 36. And I think there might have been a D4, which was 16 in the middle there somewhere. And all of them were fantastic. So it's a bit of a conundrum for me, but I think and now a big part of what I do is video. And so what I loved about the Z8 and the Z9 is the 8K video for cropping. So now the Z6 has thrown a bit of a spanner in the works because I've now got 6K and 5.4K for cropping. So it might be enough. And I've now got pixel shift, and I've now got AI image enlargement. So if I get a keeper, I can make it essentially look like a 45 megapixel image. So maybe I'm not worried anymore. So guess what? I'm going to experiment for the next 6 months and follow my own advice and see if I can get, happiness from a Z6III from a stills perspective, because I'm extraordinarily happy from a video perspective. But yes, I have been a 45 megapixel guy since the D850 and a 36 megapixel guy since the D800, and that's 2012. But I think it's all mitigated now because of these tools.
Yeah, I wonder if, because a lot of your shooting's low light, I wonder if that makes the Z6III a more powerful tool than the Z8 or Z9.
Yeah, and that's the experiment, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Solid Rock again is asking the difference between H.264 and H.265.
As in quality?
Yeah, is there a big difference?
So, to the best of my understanding, what H.265 gives us is a file that looks pretty similar, but is about 4 times smaller. That's what it does.
Okay.
And if I recall correctly, Nikon don't offer 10-bit H.264. even so it exists, like in the world. So I would always, where you have the choice, I would always use H.265
Well,
because you get more quality for less size.
well, I can say that even with a running a PC, and I run Premiere Pro in a PC, H.265 is a much faster, codec to work with than H.264.
Well, we also have processors now that just specifically for working with H.265. I don't know whether they bothered with H.264. So they do run very, very well. Just like the new Apple now natively do ProRes. Like they've got processors for ProRes, which means it just cuts through it like butter.
Okay.
Yeah, you go.
Mookie MC is asking, did you have an opportunity to see how well some accessories fit, like the grip and everything?
The grip was not available with the unit that I have.
I do know that the Z6II grip doesn't work on the Z6III.
Yeah, it's a thicker body. So no, I didn't. The thing about pre-release is there's often not a lot made early on, because it's not released yet. So no, sorry, but there's no reason to believe that everything will work as it always does. All of these companies are highly professional and they do a great job. Small rig, great job always. And everything else is standards. I expect the hot shoe to be the same size, the same ISO size.
Yeah. So King Cruck is asking, how sharp is the video footage on the Z6III using the 85mm 1.2?
Did I shoot that specific lens? I don't think I shot this. I shot the 50 1.2 a fair bit. And did he say in video?
In video.
So if you look at my launch video, you'll see some stuff I did down at the beach, and I basically didn't show about 95% of it. Hey, Wayne, do you mind just tapping very gently on the trigger just to keep the camera awake? That's it. That's all you got to do. That'll give us another. You're amazing. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
And the footage is just glorious. I really, again, this is just how I feel. It just looks really cinematic and beautiful. And when you use this really cinematic Z glass, it's a phenomenal outcome. Just have a look at some of those beach shots that I did. Like we didn't have a lot of time, and I will be doing more. But yeah, it's gorgeous.
Well, the bucket flying through the air was pretty cool.
Oh, the bucket, yeah. And
I
tell you, everybody, it might not have been clear, but that was shot on the 70-200 with the 1.4 teleconverter, and we didn't practice it. My daughter just did it, and I'm like, okay, okay, got it. And I nailed it once. It happened once. I nailed it once, and the camera nailed it once with the 70-200 at 200, I think it was, with the teleconverter on. And we were doing 240 frames. It's all pretty impressive that it, and I didn't plan for it. So yeah.
Waters asks a good question. Does it have night settings for astrophotography? You know how?
Off the top of my head, it has all the same settings as the Z8 and the Z9 for the red screen and all that. The warm display and all those other things. So I think the answer is yes, but I'd like to double check. If anyone knows in the comments below, because it looks like there's some people that have had a good hard look at the manual, please share with us. That would be amazing.
Art and Photo Aruba asks about the dynamic range compared to the Z6III. I presume he or she is referring to the Z6II.
Yeah, so I don't know about dynamic range per se, but high ISO seems to be a stop better, roughly.
Greg's asking, does the Z6III USB-C simultaneously handle power and data?
Didn't test that. I will test that. I'm guessing the answer is yes, because I think that's what they mostly do.
Okay, still going through.
Please like and subscribe, everybody. Thank you very much. Great. And Joe needs a coffee, I think.
I do.
Thanks, Wayne. Although sorry, we talk too much.
If you want to buy me a whole lunch, that's fantastic too.
Come on, don't get greedy.
Okay. Waters is asking about pixel shift. Is it good for landscape astrophotography as well, this particular camera?
Pixel shift for astro? No, you can't use it for astro because the world rotates. And
Yeah.
And I think if I don't know the quickest it can take the frames in at a fast shutter speed, but it's still like a second.
Yeah, that's challenging.
Yeah,
That's
I don't think you
challenging.
can do it with pixel shift,
Yeah.
Astro.
But
Although I have spoken to somebody who has a gimbal machine thing that follows the sky.
so if you Star Trekker.
So if you have one of those, maybe the answer is yes. Somebody tell us if you're a star person and have one of those, whether you can do it, because that is awesome. I think it would be possible with one of those, basically robot controlled gimbals that follow the sky. So I've changed my mind. But you need one of those, and I have no idea what they cost, but that's probably another $1,000.
Okay, King Croc is asking, or he's stating that he's waiting for Z mount reds.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think we all are, just because, hey, wouldn't that be amazing? Could Red Raw video code come to the current cameras? No idea. It was Jared Land, I think, when he was talking during some of the early Red stuff that happened. He's one of the high up people at Red, the president, I think. Was talking about how impressed he was with Nikon's processors, so as in their silicon that they've created.
Okay.
So if their silicon's capable of it, but again, from a market segmentation perspective, I could see they go, great, well, we're going to give you Red Raw, but you need to buy our cine camera, because that's what it's for. And it might not end up in a Z6III, not because it can't. It's just market segmentation. Who knows? I know nothing, but I like to just think logically about how a business is thinking. What are they up to?
They still want to maximize profits.
Yeah, and in real terms, I would say what percentage of actual people. I did a good job with my scarf there. What percentage of Z6 users want Red Raw? And if you said, oh, well, it's 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000 people, like in real terms,
go buy a red.
Then you kind of go, well, then it's probably not worth whatever it takes. And that's really what I think about. It's about number of use cases in real terms. Even so, you and me, we'd love it and we'd play with it. How often would we actually use it in our Z6III? And we probably, because the 10-bit, the 10-bit works for us a lot of the time. And then if we are making a Netflix series, then we would have no problem buying a Red or a Z Red, as I like to call them, Z Red.
I just think it's going to be slow integration over the next 3-4 years. It'll slowly unfold, and I don't think anyone's going to suffer from not having good enough quality tools to create astounding images with astounding footage with either Nikon branded or Red branded cameras. I think that there's actually a large amount of crossover.
Yeah. Look, we have a lot of options today already. You're correct, and I of course would love to have some redness in my Zedness, some redness in my Zedness. But I still think it's a minimum of a year or two away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Muldenite is asking, do straight out of camera JPEGs on the Z6III match more closely with the Z8, Z9 in terms of color science, or more closely with the Z6, Z6II?
That's a great question, and I can confidently say to you that I always shoot RAW, and I'm not sure I've ever put a JPEG through my Z6II, ever. So I can't answer the question. The JPEGs looked great in the Z6III because that's all I could play with in the beginning, but I'm sorry, I did not and can't compare them with the Z6II at the moment.
Right.
Sorry.
Telly26 is asking, does anyone know of Nikon Z6III's maximum bitrate? Mainly want to know if I can record at 6K 60p RAW on SDXC, V60 or V90 card.
I think I've heard that the internal RAW doesn't work on SD look, CF's Express Type B cards have become very affordable, and you can get like 256 ones for I kind of think like $100 or something. Don't quote me on that, but because I haven't looked at them recently, but they're really very affordable. and they're more robust. I just think they'll last longer and serve you well. I can say categorically that I have not had a single CF Express or does everyone remember XQD? A CF Express or XQD failure yet. The only one that's failed is one that I squashed myself by putting it in the camera bag in the wrong spot, and it got squashed between the camera and then the bag got put down heavily. No other failures, zero. And
Same.
my first XQD was Nikon D4, which I think is 2012. So that is how long they have gone without a single issue.
Well, this takes, and this is just CF.
Oh, it's CF.
It's CF.
Love CF.
From 2002. Still running well. So
don't love CF actually. The pins. I always used to bend the pins.
Yeah, but I still haven't had any fail.
Well, you're more precise than me.
I haven't used it for 20 years.
Yeah, that's how you don't break it. Don't use it.
Don't use it.
Don't touch it. Don't break it.
Pristine.
Pristine.
So Maldenite's also asking.
We've got to thank some people. Paul, thank you so much for. Oh, that's very generous, Paul. And I just got to scroll up. Sorry.
And Champagne Sumo.
Oh, it's Champagne Sumo. Thank you so much to you both. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
We can go have lunch.
Great. And Maldenite is asking, have you tried any macro with the amazing 105 2.8 lens yet? That's this lens here.
Have I used it on the Z6III?
Yes.
I did. I mean, they all were. I mean, look, this is a Z camera. This is a pro. This can be used by pros. Absolutely. It works beautifully and brilliantly. No problems. Like it's running a Z8, Z9, infrastructure basically. So expect those levels.
And this is an incredible lens.
Great lens.
Amazing.
I love using that, and it up close, no chromatic aberration. It's yes. You and I both love that lens, and it's got VR in it, which I don't know what I think I used it on a tripod. So, but VR plus IBIS. Bit of synchro action. I don't know if we get out to 8.5 even. Not sure. Have to double check that.
Yep. It's the only thing is it's a tiny bit slow to focus compared to other primes like the 85 or the 135.
To its defense, though, we're often going from like 1 centimeter out to
that's true.
out to 45 meters.
Yeah,
and yes, it does. With all lenses, when they're doing those really close to kind of 1 meter or 3 feet, that's always a long journey, and then they get faster later.
And this does have the focus limiter as well, the switch.
Except it's limiting it to macro as opposed to limiting it to tele, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
right?
it's like 29 centimeters to 50 centimeters.
As opposed to if you buy the 400 2.8 TC, it's like can't come closer than 10 meters.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, Ken Dogg's asking, is saying, I have a Z5. Do you think there will be a Z5 II coming up? Cool question.
Oh, well, I was, I'm making a video and the Z5 appeared in that video, and I saw that the launch of that was 2020. It was mid 2020. So we are mid 2024, 4 years old. Z6 is 2 to 3 is 4 years. It's time. Certainly time. I wouldn't like to think that, the Z50 is older. I think it's late. It's either late 2019 or early 2020. So I'd like to think so is the answer to the question.
The Z6 II is actually the 12th Z camera to come out in under 6 years.
Do you mean the Z6III?
Sorry, the Z6III.
Yes.
I stand corrected.
No, well, I was checking.
I have been corrected.
Look, it's due. I think 4 years is, kind of the limit. And I would like to see a Z50 and a Z5 next, personally, for the people with those use cases, because I think there has been a lot of advancements in the Nikon space in the last in those 4 years. Obviously, X-Speed 7 and everything it brings.
Chris Lone's asking, any reason why Nikon's not introducing a digital hot shoe like its competitors, Sony and Canon?
It's funny you should say that, because I was chatting with Seth and Rishi. I think it was this morning. They often chat while I'm asleep, and then I wake up and I see stuff. And they were talking about the failure rate of, and this is just chats that we have privately, but I'm pretty sure they were talking about the failure rate of these these smart hot shoes. So the issue with the smart hot shoe is they're not weather sealed in the same ways that just a standard hot shoe is. I go out into like Joe and I have been out in some very bad weather shooting, and I don't even think about, oh, where's my hot shoe at?
Yeah.
And so that's the issue, is robustness. And it's not just about weather. So because snow can fall in there as well, rain, grit, and grit might mean the connections start to fail. But I also believe they're just not quite as tough. So I think that's the reason that they don't do it.
But there's also wireless connectivity has improved so much over the last years that do you need a hard physical connection to a hot shoe for any of your peripheral devices, or can you just go wirelessly?
Yeah, so I think the main place it seems to be being successfully loved is audio. And of course, you just, jam this in here and you've got audio. There's no cables. The differential between that and a cable is not huge. And as I said in a recent video about the intention of manufacturers, I think this is a very measured and thought out decision by Nikon for the majority of their users. And I think it would be a large majority to have a camera that's more robust across a huge range of use cases, rather than for a much smaller minority to have either this or this with a cable. And that's the differential. And I think I'm happy with that personally.
Well, Roy Bixby is just adding to that by saying the hot shoe on my A7 was the first thing to fail.
Yeah.
So people have had experiences with that failure. It's thanks, Roy, for that. ZL7 Mans is asking, which lens did you say you shot the bucket video with?
Yeah, so it was the 70-200 2.8 VRS Z lens with the 1.4 teleconverter, and I just did it. I didn't know it was going to happen, and it was like, it's happening, and I just shot it. I can't take any credit for. Look, I will take credit for one, anticipating that the moment was happening a second before it did. Go me, and actually keeping it in the center of frame. That was pretty impressive, because I don't think I cropped that video. So yeah, amazing with the teleconverter. Amazing. Yeah, just really happy with it.
Sampon is asking, does the Z6III have better image stabilization than the Z8?
So what I think is a correct statement is that they all have the same physical mechanical unit, but there's slightly different firmware in the ZF and the Z6III, which makes it even more responsive. Whether the Z8 and the Z9 will be upgraded, I don't know, in firmware. So the answer is yes, I believe it is slightly better.
Solid Rock's asking a question more about video again and lenses. He's asking whether or not the 50mm 1.8G is good enough, or should he upgrade to a 50mm 1.8S?
Well, go check out my video about that lens. That was the lens that said to me, Nikon has arrived with the Z mount. I don't understand what's going on. It almost looks like medium format. I was so blown away by this most affordable, like, I think it's the most affordable S lens you can buy, the 50mm. I don't know what country you're in, but here, I've seen it 800, 900, somewhere around there. If you can spring for it, you'll love it.
Yep.
And might I say, I never used that other, the G that you're talking about, so I can't comment on how it is relative to that.
I wonder,
but if you can go the extra yards and afford the Z, I would advise that. Yeah.
It also depends on the environment as well. I know that a lot of my older G lenses are quite noisy with when they're focusing.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing documentary work and I'm filming animals, I have to place a microphone remotely, just so I don't have interference with the sound of the lens focus. Greg Corker is asking any idea about why, at this very early juncture, video-related heat management seems to be so good.
It's a great question that I don't have an answer, so I would have to theorize. So obviously the chassis, they can do whatever they want in the chassis, and whether, for example, this sensor and the processor are just sitting on a piece of magnesium which sends the heat out to your hand and wherever else, they can always keep designing that stuff, whether there's any like redesigning and improving that stuff. The fact that it's a smaller sensor, 24 instead of 45, means there's actually less activity going on, as in less to process. So
doing it easier.
So the processor is working much less hard, and the sensor is not working as hard in the sense of all the electronics is actually larger. And when you put electronics more tightly packed, it gets hotter. So those two things are going to have a really positive effect on heat. And the one thing, no downsampling, is going to have an impact on heat as well as battery. So I think it's a lot to do with what I talked about earlier, that the 24 megapixel sensor is a great choice for all of these reasons, including heat and battery usage.
Yep.
Let alone dynamic range and the semi-stack sensor and all of these. Like, these are very thought out, measured choices that the engineering teams would literally sit there with a spreadsheet working out all the trade-offs for probably years and going, all right, this is where we're landing, and that's got to include, what does it cost for us to make it? And what are the yields? How many can we make? All of these things, everything has to be considered. It's phenomenal. I love it. I love what goes into bringing these products for us to go out and have fun and create. It's so good.
BJ Cleary is asking, does the Z6, or can you use a Z6III as a webcam via USB only?
So yes, all of the XP7 and I think pretty much maybe all of the XP6 cameras can do that. One thing that's going on at the moment is that if you've upgraded your Apple computer to the latest OS, it's currently not compatible, and we're just waiting for a software update from Nikon. If you're running Windows, I believe it still works fine. So that's the answer. If you're on Windows, yay. If you're on Mac and you've got the previous OS, don't upgrade. And yes, it'll work at the moment. I'm sure Nikon will patch it when they have time. They're doing a lot at the moment. And not only are they doing a lot at the moment, but they bought Red on top of that. So they're doing even more of a lot at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roy's adding to the comments that we were talking about before.
Oh, yes.
About the best thing about Z lenses is that, unlike G lenses, they're usable wide open. So
yeah, see, great point.
Yeah, thanks, Roy.
That's something that I love. That the planner and the 85 that Joe's holding there, you get no penalty for using that at 1.8 or the other one at 1.2, and that's not hyperbole. That is real, and that wasn't the case for my top of the range F mount 85 1.4 G. You could use it, but it was soft and purple fringy and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah, you don't have to learn the idiosyncrasies of lenses. You just shoot wherever you want.
Please, everybody, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and please contribute to the coffee fund. Thank you very much.
Oh, we just got a whole bunch of likes in there.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Just bang, bang, bang.
That was effective.
Oh, I love it. I should use my Delsat radio tones more often. Come on down to Albert Park Lake, and you can come to the Grand Prix, and we can take photos with the Z6III and whatever else. Okay. We are at the 1 hour and 43-minute mark. I reckon we're going to round it out around the 2 hour mark. So any more questions? Unless you really want us to go on, people, talk about it in the comments below. Otherwise, I think it's actually, the wind has picked up and it's starting to get even colder, even so the sun is getting higher. Yeah, so any more cues, drop the cues in the live comments. Love to see and hear your cues.
Oh, how did we go?
As we round out the last maybe 15 minutes.
Sorry, how did we go with the brand equivalents at the moment?
Oh, we didn't do that.
We didn't do that.
I'm not sure you finished your question.
No, I didn't. You recently picked up a Panasonic.
I did.
And can you talk about the differences between the Panasonic and this particular body?
Sure. I mean, I'm still learning about that camera, but when I was working on my video, the original video about that, it was really interesting to see the years that I can't remember exactly, but it was literally like the Sony came out one year, then the Canon came out the next year, and then the Panasonic came out the next year, and then the Nikon, now the Z6III, has come out, and they were all a year apart, and it looked like it was a planned dance. And so what you could say as a sweeping statement, a broad statement, is they all come out each year and they all get slightly better with each year, with the A7 IV being the next most likely camera to be updated, because it's heading towards its 4th birthday, I think, next year, late next year. And, you know, I suppose it'll leapfrog, because that's the game that we always play, right? That doesn't change. So, sorry, I'm just getting a phone call.
Okay.
And I hope that doesn't affect the stream. Sorry, because it's running through my phone. Yeah. Does that answer the question? So I think it's like I don't think we want to go through all the specs right now of those 4 brands that offer full frame.
I guess
24, but they all except for Sony offer a full frame 24 megapixel camera, and they all do similar things. But the Z6III, I think, is the top of the heap on balance, with things like the EVF and the stacked sensor, and what it does with RAW and the autofocus. And then if you think about what everyone else is doing,
well, it certainly will be for a while. And what I like about Nikon's game plan is the constant firmware updates. You know, having bought the Z9 a few years ago now.
It launched. It was launched in late 2021. Yeah, so you would have got yours early 2022.
That's right. So every time a camera gets leapfrogged with Nikon, they roll out a firmware update, which is pretty convenient, really, because I don't have to go and spend more money every 3, 6, 8 months if I want the latest, greatest.
So, yeah, I mean, who knows what the firmware future holds? I think the Z9 had the most because it was the first. Whether that level of firmware updates stays at that sort of cadence, I just think we don't know. Like, it feels like forever ago, but we actually just got firmware 2.0 and firmware 5 for the Z8 and the Z9. You know, what was that, February and March maybe, which is actually only 2 or 3 months ago. There seemed to be something like a 6-month cadence on the Z9. Maybe that will continue. But if you think about it, if they did it every 6 months for 4 years, that's 8 major firmware updates. I mean, that would be mind-blowing. Who knows if it happens, and who knows? I think with one of the interviews with the Nikon, the chief of, I can't remember, the president of, I can't remember which department it was, but I think he was saying something along the lines of, you know, if there's things we think we can do and that the cameras have the power to do it, and you know, we'll add it in, basically.
Yep.
Because we are getting into new territory of literally new things being invented for photography, like auto capture. You know,
that's right.
That's a new thing.
So, you know, coming towards closing.
Yes. QQQs. Anybody? Everybody. Last drinks coming soon.
I'm going to
please like and subscribe. Like and
I'll
subscribe. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe.
So where to from here? Where are cameras going from here? This is I see this as a massive step forward, because we've got a smaller megapixel sensor shooting at the same frame rate and great quality as Z8, Z9 in a mid-tier body. What's going to be next?
The next body?
Yeah.
Oh. Let me look into my crystal ball. Well, people talked about the Z5 and the Z50. I think they're the oldest cameras besides the Z7 III. Right? So if you were going to base it on the date, they would be the 3 cameras that are next. And if you said, well, what else do they need? There are definitely people who'd love to see a high-end APS-C.
Yeah, with IBIS.
Which maybe a Z50 Mark II might cross both, because if you look at what a Z6III is, it's a sporting and wildlife camera. It can do it.
Yeah.
And then, so I think there's the Z52, the Z5II, the Z7III, and then some other cameras that people might want, which is the APS-C D500 replacement, maybe. The rangefinder, which I think would sell like hotcakes because the ZF's been so crazy.
Yep.
And for me, Nikon, you can make me one just for me if you want. Try and squeeze a small medium format into the. Just joking. It's a joke.
Just the one.
Australian humour right there. I wonder if I can do an impersonation of Chris Hemsworth in "Ladies and Gentlemen" in Mad Max Furiosa. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what he talks like. Anyway, I don't have the fake nose. Keep going.
Okay,
Yes.
just a quick one, retouching again on Z6III's EVF. What's the compare like in reality to the ZF, Z8, and Z9? Just to rehash that.
Well, the ZF is very different. It's not at the level of the Z8 and the Z9. Definitely not. It's increased resolution. So this is the only Nikon camera with 5.76 million. It's the only one. It's the only one with P3 color gamut. And it's the only one with this level of brightness, which is 33%, which is a lot. You don't think it's a lot, but it's actually a lot. It's really joyful to use. And yeah, I mean, it's funny because I am a photographer who gets annoyed by bad EVFs, and I really enjoy a good EVF. And once you've gotten used to it, it just disappears, right? Once it's there and it's brilliant, you stop thinking about it, and it's there and it's brilliant. Like,
yep,
you're not. I mean, it would be impossible to be disappointed because it's the best thing they've done, and there are. And again, I'm not trying to be antagonistic towards other brands, but there's whoops, the camera's gone to sleep. I'm on it. I can't believe it. We're still going strong. We're still here, everybody. I love the color bars though; they're cool. The other thing we haven't talked about is I believe that Nikon puts amazing glass. So obviously there's a little TV screen in there that's doing the 120 FPS. It's doing the P3 color gamut. It's doing the brightness, and it's doing the 5.7 million dots. But then there's the glass. And it's like if you buy a bad pair of glasses with bad glass, plastic glass. I suppose that's not called glass, is it? Plastic whatever. Versus really well engineered. And what are Nikon? Everybody? Anyone put their hand up? What I reckon? They are an optics company. And they make the best glass that money can buy, which means they can also do that in their EVFs. So even so, a Z9 with 3.7 or something million dots, and say an A7R5 is like 9 million dots, I still preferred looking at the screen, even so it was lower res, because of that glass. And now with the Z6III, it's you're getting it all. You're getting the color, the brightness, the dots, and the glass, and the refresh rate. It's great.
Well, on that point, Vin is asking about the rear screen.
Yes.
If you can see any difference between the rear screen of the Z6III versus any of the other cameras, have they brightened it up at all?
Yeah. So it's I'm so sorry, Vin. I didn't really assess that, but I have heard. I think it was Gerald Undone who said it's a better screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he said that in his video. Go check it out. But I think he said it was brighter, and I think he said it's the largest as well, which I didn't get that in my notes. I didn't pick that up.
Well, now that it's a flippy screen, it has more utility anyway. So that
yeah, well, the larger the better, because when you if we were flippy screening now, the screen is it's only for vlogging when it's just here.
Yeah,
you can't see the screens once they're like that. The camera's 2 meters away, 6 feet, slightly more. Anyway,
okay,
I hear it's good.
All right, a couple more.
Yeah.
So King,
like and subscribe.
King as well asks, can the current Z lenses cover cropped medium format 44mm by 33mm. That's something you've gone into a few times.
Yes. So one of my early videos from, like, I don't know, 2020, where I tried to establish whether that was possible. We don't know, but you look at a lens like the Planner, which we believe has the largest image circle of any Z lens, and that's why it's so high quality, because it's literally larger, so we're kind of using more of the center of the lens. So could a lens like that work on a sensor that I think they're like 66% larger? I can't remember that. Correct me if I'm wrong. And of course, things like vignetting can be corrected electronically, so that's not a big deal, just as long as there's image arriving there. Anyway, look, I've looked at the fact that I think it can physically fit, because if you look at what Sony achieved with the E mount, the 35mm in the E mounts, you know, it's tight compared to everyone else's mount. And then if you make the same comparison, small medium format to Z mount, and the fact that the back of the glass can be so close to the mount, and so you could just bend the light anyway once you get in there, I think it's possible, but it doesn't mean it will ever happen. I have to say that it may never happen.
Yeah.
And it's possible. What I did work out is longer lenses are more likely to fit, and wider lenses are less likely to fit bigger sensors. And one way that was attempted to test that is you get a GFX and you put Nikon F glass on it, and that's what happened. The longer F lenses actually covered the sensor, but the wider lenses did not. But you know, it's only very small in the corners. And then let's talk about curved sensors. That's another whole thing. Curved sensors change the equation completely. So if any company had the desire to do curved sensors and make new lenses to go with those curved sensors, you could probably fit them in a lot of these mounts. But I don't see that anytime soon.
Sid Hunt asks a question I'm sure a lot of people are interested in.
G'day, Sid.
The difference between the Z6III and the ZF if you're only a stills photographer. Are there any advantages to either, considering the price difference?
Well, if you're in the US 500, obviously there's the ergonomics, which I think is a big deal. You've got CF Type B, which I love, versus SD and micro. CF Type B and SD versus SD and micro. Obviously, the sensor is significantly faster. So depending on what type of stills you do, you might want that faster sensor, that less rolling shutter.
Yeah.
But if you're still just shooting mechanical with either of them, then they're very similar. Mechanical, I don't know about the high ISO performance, but I think they're very similar. So it would really be about your use case. If it's sports and action, anything quick, wildlife, then I'd probably definitely go the Z6III. If it's just general walk-around photography, I don't think you're going to get a big difference between them, but you might be interested in the ergonomics differences.
Yep. Thomas Brown's asking about image rotation on screen between portrait and landscape shots.
Well, it does it. It does it like all the other cameras do it, if that's the question.
Yeah.
Yes, it does rotate. It's a setting. So you just choose to have it on or off. And Bob's your uncle.
And Greg's asking, he's asking Joseph, asking someone else in the comments a question. I think, how are we going for time?
Yeah. I think it's time for lunch. World. Fantastic, everybody. It's been magnificent to have you all here. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. The Z6III has been an amazing new chapter for Nikon users and for anyone new that's coming into photography. I still think the Z glass is some of the best that you can get. So if optical awesomeness is in your wheelhouse, the Z mount is a great place to land. But I will temper that by saying there is no bad camera that you can buy from anybody, any brand today. So, you know, that's super important. There really isn't. And if you're talking about autofocus and things like that, all of the brands with their current modern generations are all spectacular. They do autofocus different ways, but they all can handle 99.9% of situations brilliantly. And Joe, any last thoughts or words about the Z6III before we roll off into the sunset over there? Oh, there's the swans. I don't know if you people can see the swans, but anyway.
I've just got to say that it's an incredible camera. What a great release. It's good for the entire industry. And I think it's raised the bar again as to what people can expect for a mid-tier camera that can work both professionally and as a hobbyist as well. It's just great to see that that companies like Nikon and all the companies really just keep on innovating and innovating so close to the cutting edge. And I think we get to a stage where we're taking for granted how good these cameras are, these modern cameras are, compared to where we were 6 or 7 years ago.
Well, absolutely. I mean, DSLR before E-mount arrived in full frame 35mm alpha E-mount arrived 2013, it was a different era.
Yeah.
And you know, some of us started in the film days, and the power that we have at our fingertips,
yeah.
Like the fact that you've got 6K internal RAW for 2.5 US, and I wanted to make films when I was a 20-year-old, and an SP Betacam, which is about 1/10 the quality, was $150,000. And I know it's a generation ago, but honestly, it's unbelievable. And we would just like to invite everybody to enjoy photography, enjoy getting out in the world like we are today, freezing our fingers off here. I know it doesn't look like it. Enjoy your community, enjoy your friends, enjoy your family, and create memories. Like at the end of the day, that's what all of this talk is about.
Yep.
Is creating memories. You know, we can talk about specs, which is fine. It's great. It's part of the story, but we want you. This is why I say at the end of every one of my videos, make art. Go and make some art. All right. Well, Joe, thank you for being here today. It's a big deal having Joe here. I'm very excited that he was able to join and be my wingman. Thank you, Joe.
My pleasure.
I'll see you all very soon. Z6III in hand again. And I can't thank all of you enough for the support that you give me and the channel. It's fantastic to know that you're all out there. And yeah, this stuff doesn't happen without you. All right. Thanks, everybody. I've really enjoyed it. Except for the cold. Now I've got to find the end stream button. There it is. All right. See ya.